I am not going to make 100 in a row 10 footers. It's impossible for whatever reason. But what I can do is put myself in a position to where if I'm reading the putt correctly, if I'm controlling my speed correctly, my intended line correctly, over time, I will win.
I often hear the car ride home is the thing that so many athletes, not just golfers, but athletes in general, they dread with their parents. How do we do that then? So how do we look at that data? When's the best time to evaluate it? How do we foster that love for not only the hard work, but then at the end,
I would say never ever do it in a car, ever. Right? I'll never forget one tournament. Bryson wanted to talk about it in the car. And then I made a comment, and then he calls me Captain Obvious, right? I mean, again, because we're in the car, it's like, well, Captain Obvious, of course I knew that, whatever. And so, but again, there's times where he felt like I'm the parent and he's the child, whatever. But it's very, very difficult. It was hard to get Bryson to, hey, let's, like a Formula One race team. Right? They all get together. They start talking about what were the things that we missed? What could be better? How did the car feel? Blah, blah, blah. It's the same. I've always viewed a golfer, a really good elite player as a Formula One car. And so, and they need to be the casino, never the gambler. So that's another problem, is that if you're the gambler, you're going to lose. It's inevitable.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the casino always wins over time, correct? They know they're going to win. If they didn't, then there would be no casinos around. The thing I taught Bryson early on was to never be the gambler, right? Learn to be the casino. Learn to make decisions based on over time, you will win. Versus, I'm here in this moment, I'm going to gamble, I'm going to risk everything, blah, blah, blah. Because there's so many intrinsic values to a shot that you're making a decision on. You look at guys like Phil Mickelson, who was predominantly the gambler over his career. Whereas if he played probably differently, he probably would have won 4 or 5 more majors for sure. But he liked the risk. He liked the gamble. And over time, in certain situations, it definitely cost him. Whereas in what I promote at my place is understanding how to do things. And when you're playing, let's say over time, it works in your favor. You're not going to make every 10 footer, right? You have to understand that. I am not going to make 100 in a row 10 footers. It's impossible for whatever reason. But what I can do is put myself in a position to where if I'm reading the putt correctly, if I'm controlling my speed correctly, my intended line correctly, over time, I will win. Over time, I will make my percentage of my putts. And so versus I'm not going to go practice my speed control. I'm not going to go practice my intended line. I'm just going to go hit some random putts and blah, blah, blah. You are now the gambler. Guess what? I guarantee you're going to lose. There's no doubt in my mind. Right. And it's the same thing how you end up playing. Like there's certain ways, like when I read a putt and I teach my players how to read a putt, there's a way I teach it to where over time, it's a very simple process, very quick, very fast. And over time, if you trust it, you will make your fair share of putts. Okay. And so I don't have to, oh, wait a minute, the green's now step 12 and it's a 2.3.
What is that? Mike, I'm fascinated. What is that process? How do you quickly read a green? Because I am horrible at reading a green and I have no idea how to teach it to anybody else.
All right. Here's my cup, right? There's a low point and a high point. Make sense? So this is a big flat pancake that's tilted.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
For every foot I'm away from the hole, it's going to be 1 inch of aim from the center of the hole up the straight putt, right? Right to my nose. So if I'm 10 feet away, anywhere around this hole, right here, it's going to be 10 inches of aim up this straight putt, otherwise known as the gravity vector. Okay. So when I walk up to a hole, let's say I'm 15 feet away, I walk it off. I know I'm 15 feet. I know where the high point is at the hole location. My starting point for my aim point is going to be from the center of the hole up 15 inches. I can trust that. I can expand it.
That's if it's an uphill putt.
Doesn't matter. Downhill, uphill, doesn't matter. It's the same aim point. So if I'm plotting it right here, it's how you fly an airplane, right? So if I'm plotting that right here at the top of this hole, let's say this is 10 inches right here. So I'm 10 feet away. I can be 10 feet below the hole at 4 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, at 11 o'clock, at 2 o'clock. It's the same aim point. So anytime you're sticking your fingers out doing that, or I'm giving you a specific number, the assumption is you have perfect speed control and that you have perfect intended line control. And number 3, you have perfect launch control. I don't know of anybody that really has that. But to me, one of the best in the world at controlling speed is probably Bryson, because he works on his speed control unbelievably hard. And he's been doing that since he was 14 years old. One of the only guys that does what he does. So, but anyway, all right. So over time, what I found out, right? Because I have specific numbers. I got numbers coming out of my ears. And you could stick your finger out, whatever. But again, closer, longer, you got problems there. And again, if you know that, hey, you know what? At 4 o'clock, I tend to hit the ball 3 feet by. So I'm gonna expand it farther away because my aim's gonna be shorter. You see what I'm saying? But nobody knows that, right? Because most people don't ever evaluate what their tendencies are. That's why the stroke gain number on putting is so skewed. It's ridiculous. Because you can't tell me at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 2 o'clock, those all have the same values at 10 feet. No way, right? That's why everybody, if I hit the ball 30 yards farther, it's way better than if I improve my putting. No, if you learn strokes gain correctly and you improve your putting, it way outweighs hitting the ball 30 yards farther. I'm sorry. No doubt about it. Plus, nobody ever can work at it that hard to hit it 30 yards farther, unless maybe like a Bryson. Does that make sense? So every time I've taught that principle to a pilot, usually before I even get the last part, they go, I got it, because that's how I fly my airplane, right? As long as they know where the high point, as long as you know where the high point is at the hole location, right? And that's usually pretty easy to see at 1.5% to 3%. Not a problem, right? And you could say, well, wait a minute, what if there's more slope? Wouldn't there be more aim? Theoretically, yes, if you're truly controlling your speed control. But if you just trust the number, because your tendency to pull on certain angles, your tendency to push at certain angles, and your tendency to hit soft at certain angles, and your tendency to hit hard at certain angles, it all averages out. If you're looking at a putt and you're going, okay, that's not enough aim, then what's your answer? Well, I'm just going to expand that aim until it looks good to me. You're done. Now hit the putt.